Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of our Tailormade Talks, the series we put together to help you guys, our audience, get to know our team, our staff and our members a little bit better. Today with me, I have Luke Atkins. Luke is the head coach down in Carrick and Shore here. He's been with us 2.5 years. Luke, very welcome.
Thank you very much.
To start off, Luke, how did you come to work at Tailormade?
Right, so Tailormade was never supposed to be a long-term thing. I think that's kind of where we'll start that. Went to college anyway, graduated college through COVID. I had plans to travel, but obviously COVID ended up happening, so that was kind of put on the long burner. So I figured if I'm going to be around for the next year or so, I may as well get something out of it. So I jumped straight into a master's. It was just coming to the end of the point when I didn't need to be
in college
on campus.
I
had a little bit of write-up to do, but I was kind of done. But so I said, right, I needed a little bit of finances to kind of back me up because my grant had just ran out and scholarship and all that sort of stuff had just finished up. So I needed some finances, and then in the middle of all this, myself and my other half were kind of in the process of trying to take the next step and move in together and all that sort of stuff. A job opened up, actually, I'd say a 5-minute walk from her house, so I ended up moving in with her and her folks, and here we are.
Brilliant. And that was in the original gym in Carrick, so that was out in Ballylynch. We've moved location in the last year. But yeah, I actually remember those early conversations where you were literally just coming to work to get a job, to earn a few bob, to move on to the next thing.
Fact.
We'll get into why you stayed in a bit more. But I want to really start off this with helping the audience get to know who Luke is, right? So who was Luke growing up? Like, where did you go to school? I know you're from Kilkenny, Ferrybank. So just give an idea. Who was Luke growing up in school? Were you a good student? Were you a pup? Were you the class clown? Just give some background there.
So I was kind of quiet enough growing up. So
grew up in Ferrybank?
Grew up in Sleeve which is
Sleeve
in South Kilkenny. Went to primary school there, and then I went to secondary school in the Abbey in Ferrybank.
But Sleeve is... It's in County Kilkenny, but it's literally just across the river from Waterford City.
Yeah, you could throw a stone from Sleeve and hit Ferrybank, and that would be the difference of being from Ferrybank or Kilkenny and Waterford.
Okay,
exactly.
Cool.
So it was pretty good in school. It was quiet enough. Didn't really kind of put in or out too much. Got by doing what I had to do, but very little extra. So it was kind of average enough, probably a little bit above average student, but again, never really done anything too exceptional. Always into sport. That was kind of the only thing that kind of really grasped my attention that I would put anything extra into. Never exceptionally talented, to be honest, but always.
What sports did you play?
Sure. Like every other young lad, I kind of played a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Bit of hurling, basketball was probably my number one growing up. A little bit of martial arts. You name it, I've kind of done it like anyone. And then once I kind of got a bit older and you kind of have to start kind of picking and choosing, basketball was the one that kind of took the biggest
focus
push from me. Probably the one I was the best at. So that was just naturally the one that kind of got the biggest focus of. Then from there, kind of always had an interest in sport, but I probably had more of an interest in the analytical side of things, the stats, analysis, all that sort of stuff kind of took my interest more than playing did, to be honest. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So that kind of led me down the route of going into sports science as a degree because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do, but I knew that was the only thing that kind of really interested me and kind of took my attention.
So that was primary school, you were in Sleeve, Ferrybank for secondary school?
Yeah.
Perfect. And was it the same then through secondary school? You were playing basketball and other sports, or just basketball at that time?
Mainly just basketball. Then I got big into the UFC with the rise of Conor McGregor and everyone else my age did at that time. So that kind of led me down the route to go down the jiu-jitsu route. So I was big into that then for maybe 3 or 4 years, completely out of my depth. I don't know what I was doing at the time. Didn't have a clue what I was at. But tried my best, loved it. And then that was kind of the main focus then through school in terms of the sports side of things.
Did you obviously went on to do your degree in sports science?
Yeah.
Did you know during secondary school that that's what you wanted to do, or did you fall your way into it? Or where were you in school mentally in terms of you were playing a bit of basketball like any other young lad, but did you have...
Yeah, like I said, I kind of had more interest on the analytical side of things. So I was that guy that I would watch the game and watch the hour of analysis beforehand and watch the hour analysis beforehand and have more or afterward as well and kind of have more an interest in that than I would the actual game and figuring out what was actually going on. So that was kind of what led me down the sports science kind of route and kind of figuring out the actual ins and outs of what was happening and not just kind of watching my team or watching other teams play.
For the entertainment.
Yeah, exactly, for the entertainment perspective. So that was kind of what I thought I wanted. And then growing up as well, I was carrying a little bit of extra weight. Just kind of like any other young lad. I wouldn't say I was fat or overweight or anything like that, but I had a little bit on me, which obviously didn't help me when it came to my own performance, if I was playing basketball or martial arts or hurling or whatever it was. So obviously went into first year, naturally enough, in first year of any college course, you're going to be covering the basics. So basics of strength and conditioning, basics of
and you
nutrition.
Went to Carlow.
Carlow. So I went to IT Carlow at the time, SCTU Carlow now at the moment. So I was up there obviously for the first year, and obviously kind of got down to the basics of it. And once I hit strength and conditioning, that was like,
loved it.
That was the passion, that was the love.
And did you take a year out after leaving, or straight into college?
I went straight in. Like I said, it was the only thing I really had a massive interest in. So I said, look, why not? And I was blessed with how I set in. Absolutely blessed. The lads I was in course with still, like, best buds to this day.
Class.
The group, the camaraderie, the course, the lectures were all sound. I completely landed on my feet on that one, thankfully. From then, kind of through the summer, I actually ended up losing a shitload of weight. I remember we done a view.
So this is first year of college?
First year of college, that summer.
Okay.
I ended up losing.
What was the catalyst? Was it like, I now know how to train, I now know how to eat better, or what were you doing? And then what did you start doing to like drop that weight?
It was just the basics, to be honest. So like it's basic nutrition, just eating better. I was always active. I trained, but like I never really. The way I would explain it, I was working out, but I wasn't training. If that makes any sense. So I was kind of
going through the motions.
Just going through the motions, ticking the boxes, doing a little bit here and there. But I was never really structured in terms of training. So that summer, I remember doing a VO2 max test in college. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a fitness test where you basically analyse how much oxygen goes through your body, more or less. And I remember weighing myself at the time, and I was 200 pounds, which is a little over 90 kilos, and I was carrying a bit as well. Yeah. And got big into long distance running, so I ran a couple of half marathons then that summer and a couple of months prior to that, or after that, sorry. And I remember my lightest got down to 166
pounds.
So 166 pounds.
So you lost 35 pounds.
Yeah, it's close to 3 stone.
It's 2.5 stone, yeah.
So that was, but like I was a twig.
Okay,
so if I
no muscle on you.
No, like I said, you could snap my forearm like a twig. Like.
Yeah.
So that was an experience, all right. But enjoyed that aspect as well.
Brilliant. I think that's a great summary of like who you were in school, how you found your way into what you're doing now. Question: what advice, if you could speak to your 18-year-old self? Actually, you're not that old, so I'm going to say your 16-year-old self.
Right, okay.
Right? If you could speak to your 16-year-old self now, is there any advice you would give yourself at 16 with the life experience that you have now? That you wish you heard at 18?
Probably start to overthink things. So, like, I would see myself as something that I'm very overly analytical about a lot of things. If that's personal life, if that's work life, anything else in between, I kind of dissect things probably too much. Yeah. Like sometimes you just kind of gotta ride with the wave a little bit and kind of take the good with the bad and kind of go for it. Yeah. Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like it's not the end of the world.
Cool.
I think 16-year-old and 18-year-old Luke would have probably overly analysed the whole going to Carlow thing, which even though it's only an hour away from where I was living, like it's felt like miles away.
Right. So you went over and back in your mind as to
I was debating just playing it safe and going to WIT like anybody else was doing, and like I said, it paid off long term now, so delighted.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's an interesting observation of yourself.
Yeah, I still think that, to be fair, at certain times, like there's a few things going on personally now and I'm probably spinning the wheels a little bit more in my head than I should, but like sometimes you just kind of got to ride the wave a little bit and see what happens.
Any challenges or growth moments through primary school, secondary school, maybe even college that like, you know the way, like when you go through life, you have these kind of things that maybe happen, right? And they're almost like a fork in the road where you can go left or right. They're like kind of standout moments. Anything that stands out from you from like childhood, secondary school, where it's like a challenging moment or a growth moment that you could look back on and be like, Jesus, that was significant.
Yeah, so a couple of small things kind of come to mind, and the one that kind of hits home, and Mama still talk about this at home all the time, and it drives me nuts. But my first year in Carlow, I actually commuted up and down by bus.
By bus?
Which was a fucking
an hour.
pain in the hole, each way. So, like, obviously going through the winter, like, you're getting up at 6 in the morning to be on the bus at 7, to be in college for 9, and you're doing the same thing coming backwards, and it was just a fucking ball ache. But anyway, so there kind of came a breaking point then when I was just starting to exhaust myself to a certain extent. So I sat down with Mum, and obviously no one wants to tell the parents I'm thinking about dropping out of college.
Okay.
So that was kind of a hard conversation, and she managed to calm me down anyway and talk me through, but she still bring up that one every now and again. Like, but like I broke down in tears. I was like, I was just so exhausted and so tired, and was really having a hard time managing the travel aspect. I loved the course. Like, I knew it was what I wanted. It was just the actual moving up and down and all that
10,
stuff.
15 hours a week of travel.
Oh, disaster, absolute disaster. But like I said, she still bring up that one every now and again. They'd be like, if Fatten's not going
stuck
right.
with it?
Yeah, stuck with it. She said, look, calm down, let's try Christmas. And I was like, right, okay, we'll try Christmas, just to kind of keep Mammy happy. I'm sure we've all been there. But look, like I said, long term she was right anyway. Things kind of settled down a little bit, and I was able to pull through. And from second year, third year, fourth year on, I ended up moving up to Carlow and moving in with a few of the buddies. And look, I think we all know college is, I love college. So college is one of the best couple of years of my life.
That's class. I think the lesson there is, where things get hard, sometimes you just have to stick with it.
Yeah.
Because if you quit at that stage, when it got difficult, like, Jesus, like, God only knows.
Yeah. That's the big one that comes to mind anyway. There's a similar-ish story when coming to towards the end of college. I think it was probably maybe when I went on work placement. So
Third year, probably.
End of third year, I think it was. Yeah, but I had actually went to the States.
Oh, yes.
So I was planning that kind of probably the end of second year. And obviously with visas and all that stuff, that's kind of a bit of a process you have to jump through and give time to all these different things. And I blessed to land an internship in California, working with a college over there and their sports teams, which is kind of where I saw myself going long term. It was more on the sports side of things than working with general population people that we have in here.
Yeah.
So I had that opportunity, and it was just so hard to jump through all the hoops. And I remember being so close to like getting everything over the line and finalised. And I hit a snag, and I was like, oh, you know what, it's not worth it. And again, threw the toys out of the pram a little bit, panicked. And again, Mammy, the voice of reason, she loved it. She'd get a shout out on this.
She's definitely going to watch this.
She's 100% going to watch it. 100% going to watch this, and she'd be delighted with that. But again, talk me off the ledge a little bit. It's like, calm down, do it, just get through this, and it'll be sorted. And literally, it wasn't working on my phone, whatever application. And she said, give me her phone, which is a fucking dinosaur, brick phone. And for whatever reason, it worked on her phone. And she saved the day, and she still take credit for that one now as well, every now and again. So
class.
That's kind of
two standouts.
Exactly, and obviously that internship kind of set me up for that was it. That was when I knew, okay, I'm an S&C coach now, and that's all I ever want to do, and that's going to be me forever.
Class.
So that was Mammy Atkins now will get the credit for a lot of that.
Love it. I think you're after giving a really good insight into your education background, who you were in school. I think that's class. So we're going to move on now to your day-to-day role as head coach here in Carrick. Mm-hmm. So obviously you're with us since May 2022. Mm-hmm. So can you just share what your current role is and your progress with us to date? Because at the very start you said you joined just for a job, kind of a short-term thing. Just give us a quick recap of the 2.5 years, and then finish on what you do now and how your day-to-day is.
So when I kind of joined up, I was more so pretty much just coaching, and maybe the odd little bit of sales. That was kind of really all we kind of done. That was all the responsibility that we had. Myself, Chris, and Adrian Andy were working here at the time, and both the lads are sound. Like, we had a great dynamic. Things were going really good. Enjoyed working with the lads. They were sound. A lot of coaching involved, which is exactly what I wanted. So everything was kind of smooth. And then gradually, people move on and things kind of change and move up the pecking order a little bit. And when you move up the pecking order, you get a little bit more responsibility, then a little bit more, then a little bit more. And then I think we probably formally kind of started running head coaches probably April 23, give or take.
Yeah. So you're probably only with us 10 months.
Yeah. And like
when you got the head coach, stepped into the head coach role.
Yeah, I think I kind of had maybe informally gotten it a little while beforehand with, like I said, a few different kind of moving pieces that had moved in and out of the company. But like I said, formally kind of got it around that April 23 job, which is great and really enjoy it. Something I never had an interest in was business, ironically, and now I think...
And you're actually excelling.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the analytical side.
Yeah, maybe so. Like, it's definitely something I never saw myself with an interest in, that now I do, which is a little bit surprising. Like, I think when I tell people that I'm a coach, they don't think of me as business. Yes. Which is okay. I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need to be known as the businessman, and I don't really want to be. Yeah. But I think people would be surprised if they walked a day in my shoes how much of the actual business mentality is in there, as opposed to just coming in and coaching sessions or coaching classes. I think people would be quite surprised at that. Yeah. like obviously from whatever 6 to 11 or 6 to half 11, there's coaching going on, and that's a large responsibility of what I do, and that's still and probably will always be the area I'm most passionate about.
Yeah.
But I would probably surprise myself to the extent of how much I'm actually enjoying the business side of things and kind of managing, I suppose would probably be the right word.
Yeah.
Everything that's kind of going on, the people coming in and how they're getting on, and obviously bringing up the 2 lads as well is a massive role, and something I'm very passionate about and I'm happy about.
Class. And I love that. And I think just on the coaching side, because me and Gavin had to, and Gavin in particular, and he'll watch this, like the mentality of I'm just a coach to becoming, I suppose, more and taking on more is essential to actually doing the thing, which is coaching.
Yeah.
Because without marketing and sales, we would have nobody to coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then without, by helping and developing your team now with Heather and Kieran, you can coach more people. So it's funny how like the whole thing is cyclical. Really, you've got like marketing, sales, coaching the product, managing other people. It's all wrapped into your role now, which is managing this facility.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's definitely been an experience, and there's been highs and there's been lows now, as we won't know. But
we'll touch on that as well.
Yeah, of course. But no, it's like I said, I think people will be surprised that it's not just coming in and coaching sessions. I think that's kind of the main takeaway.
I think that's a good overview. So start with us in May 2022. You were like the third like coach 3 at the time, I think, or coach 2.
I could have nearly been coach 4 at the time,
coach
to be honest.
4, and then through just various things, you found yourself as head coach. And then last year we moved from that old gym into this lovely new gym. Loads of progressions within Tailormade as to how we do things, and also as to how you do things. And now you're obviously head coach here. You touched on some things that were challenging. So I'm going to press you for maybe 2 things that might have been maybe bad experiences over your time with us, and then I'm going to press you for 2 good things, because I think it's good for the audience that we're not just giving like a false sense of this is great. If you were to like pick out 2 things that are stand out as to like really challenging or maybe even negative in your time with us, what would it be? This is great for me to recap and listen to it as well.
Yeah. There's a couple come to mind, I'll be honest, but the main one comes to mind was the last probably last November, October-ish, when we were up in the old gym. Anyone of the members that were here will know, like, it was a little bit on the chilly side.
It was free. Listen, it was bald.
Yeah, fact. But where we had kind of announced that we were moving the gym, and we had planned to open it a little bit earlier. And then obviously these things happened. You hit snags, I hit another snag, and another snag, and another snag. So I was kind of getting a little bit off the members, like, we're never going to move. You're only telling us this to keep us happy and all this kind of stuff. And it was hard to get that, because like in the background, members obviously didn't see this, but we were trying so hard to move. Yeah. And it was frustrating for us all, because like nobody wanted us out of there more than we did. And we were kind of under pressure from both sides of things. And because of that, then the business wasn't performing either. So I was probably under pressure from yourself and Gav to kind of, focus on this and focus on this and focus on this, and trying to keep members happy and spread quite thin would be the way I would kind of put it. So that was definitely
stressful.
Yeah, to say the least. So that was last maybe October, November, somewhere around that. That was hard.
Yeah,
that was a hard time.
I felt the same. It was that whole September until we moved. It was September until
December 5th.
December 5th, because I had, like, from my perspective, I was aware we took over that gym. We were growing. We got through COVID. We had no money. Like, literally, we took over that gym and we just made it work. But I was aware it wasn't a permanent home for us because of the stairs, the 2 rooms. The building was really old. It was cold. So I was looking for ages for a place, and we found this place. But the amount of, you talk about snags.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I managed the project of this, and it was just horrific, between dealing with this building and then having the stress that you were feeling from members come to me as well, and then the business was underperforming. Like, that was a really, really stressful time. But like you said at the very start, sometimes you just need to have a bit of resilience, a bit of a backbone, stick with it, because a year on, October 2024, Carrick Shore as a gym is the best performing gym in Tailormade, right? And 12 months ago...
I love hearing you say that, Phil.
Yeah, 12 months ago, it was not that way.
No,
so
far from
imagine if we quit or said, do you know what, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I think there's lessons there for everybody, myself included.
Yeah, I think the bounce back has been real. The bounce back is greater than the setback, and as much as you want to kind of hashtag that. But no, it's definitely something that I'm definitely glad we stuck with it, because there was a couple of times now I was starting to wonder, was this really worth it?
Yeah. Oh, so was I.
Oh yeah, yeah. Fact.
Perfect. That's a good negative. Can I press you for the opposite to that? Has there been any like major highs that stand out that's like, geez, that was really class? Or is, or was, or whatever.
To be honest, I think anything where we get together, like as a community, as if it's coaches or if it's everyone together, like anything like the Tailormade games. I know there's one just gone. Sick, like I had to miss that one actually. Any of the CPDs, any of the kind of quarterly meetings. The highlight of all those for me was the night away in Dublin at the PFCA event.
Yeah.
Thrown into the deep end, got to do a bit of coaching in front of everyone. Shat the togs a little bit. But like it was. Like, I think that was class. That whole event, that whole weekend was deadly, and the fact that I actually got up and do a bit of coaching and get sliced in front of a lot of people, to be honest. But like I said, I don't think I've learned, between all the degrees, master's degree, you name it, I don't think I've ever learned as much from a day's work as I ever had in that day. That was a class event.
You're not the first person to say that when we get together as a company that they're the highlights. And we're going away next month to the UK with all the other head coaches.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be fun. And there's going to be much more of that in the future as well.
Excellent.
So it's great. Favourite aspect of the job?
I don't know if this is applicable, but like, to be honest, it's just the vibes.
Okay.
So like vibes in here, members are obviously a big highlight. So like we knock out a lot of crack off our members. Obviously we get the job done and we coach and we make progress and all that stuff, but I like to think we do it in a very enjoyable way. So like there's a lot of members will come in, they'll give us a little bit of slack, we'll give them a little bit of slack back. It kind of helps the banter, helps the kind of camaraderie between us all. Same thing then coming in, working with both the lads. Me and Kieran have been kind of working, we were a two-man show there for nearly over a year probably at this stage, and obviously bringing Heather in and kind of fitting in so seamlessly. We've got a great friendship between us as well, which obviously from a teamwork perspective I think really helps when we actually have to get work done. But from the actual vibe of the whole gym, between us ourselves, between the members, between each other, I think that's like, you want to come in and work in that positive environment when
100%. Life's too short.
You get on with the people that you work with and you enjoy it. So like even like we all have days when we don't want to be here. Like it's just reality. But like if I know I come in and I just don't want to be here, don't want to train, don't really, just like you'll have Kieran or Heather will bounce off me, say something stupid, and it's all solved again, and we'll just get back onto it. Like I think that's just the buzz about the place.
So that's favourite aspect of the job. Least favourite aspect?
I don't know if least favourite. There's definitely times when we're under a bit of pressure, which is good. But there's times when you're like, geez, how am I going to pull this out of the bag? Do you know what I mean? Like, because there was a couple of times up until very recently, and you know what I'm talking about, we were like kind of backwards against the wall a little bit. We were kind of had to shit or get off the pot in terms of making things happen. And we just kind of had to put the head down a little bit and power through that a little bit and kind of get through it. But like, you definitely challenge us, I'll put it that way. And there's like expectations that are there. And sometimes expectations are met and sometimes they're not. And when they're not, there's a swift hoe, where then to try and get that together. But
swift hoe up the hole.
Yeah. But like I said, it's not a negative thing, but like it's definitely
challenging.
Yeah, it's definitely not a nice. Not nice feeling.
Going well.
Yeah, it's definitely not nice.
100%. And I'd say that's fair. I would say myself and Gavin, big ambitions, high expectations. When things are going well, you'll know about it. But when things are not going well, you'll also know about it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I don't know, would I do it any differently?
I don't think I would either.
Like we've got to where we've got to based off that, and it seems to be working. So, yeah, I think that I think until I see a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
So I agree. Tasha, do you want to take a little break, or we go for another section?
Well, if you want to keep going, there's no warning yet.
Super.
So it'll be better today, maybe because it's colder.
Cool, maybe.
That's brilliant, Luke. So what we'll move on to now, and you mentioned it there, so it'll tie us nicely into clients and testimonials and just success stories. Can you tell me about your favourite client transformation that you've been part of and why that one? You can mention the person by name if you think they won't mind.
Right.
If you think they'll mind, just like tell the story, but don't mention who they are.
There's a lot come to mind, I'll be honest.
Do you know what? Pick one or two if you like.
Right. Mick Gann. The man's... he
was at the games day last Saturday.
We're starting to choke up thinking about it now because we actually were only on about it
Such a lovely man.
a few weeks back. Mick Gann is a G, absolute G. But if anyone who doesn't know, Mick Gann probably came to us, it's probably late 50s at the time. hasn't done anything related to health and fitness in a long time. Used to be quite an ambitious runner, if I'm not mistaken, back in his prime. He won't mind me saying that. But hadn't done anything for a long time. Very sedentary. Just kind of got by day to day, working 9 to 5 in a factory, that sort of vibe, and hadn't really thought about his health and fitness for a while. Came to us then probably 2 years ago, I would say, give or take, and the man has been on an upward trajectory of that ever since, and he's the one, like, I'm so proud of him, and I tell him this every time, because even he done the last games in feathered, and deadlifted 160, and even that, I was kind of looking at him thinking, I was like, oh my god, he's going to kill himself, but like, it moved so well, and I was like, if I had to tell Mick Gann this a year ago or 2 years ago that he'd be deadlifting 160, he deadlifted 165 last weekend, he would have laughed at me. And he's the one that comes to mind.
He's in early 60s now?
I believe so. Close to it anyway. And like I said, in here every Saturday sermon, steam coming off his head. You think he's looking like his head's going to explode half the time.
He loves it.
Oh, he loves it. Loves the torture. Coming in, knocking a bit of crack off the other lads. We've got a group that are fairly competitive now that will come in for a team engine of a Wednesday or a Saturday sermon, and it's always good crack. It's neck and neck. It's competitive, but it's all for the progress, I suppose.
That's what it's all about. Is there any more? Another one?
One more even. Jeez, I could go forever, Fionn. There's a lot of small ones come to mind. So there's a relatively newer member. She joined back in February, and I actually know the girl from home. So it was kind of had a little bit more of a personal touch to me. But she was away on a holiday or something anyway, and she kind of pulled me aside one day. I was just kind of checking in with her, just to see how things went. And she kind of said something to me. I'll never ever forget it. She was like, I'm X years old, I don't want to give it away, but she was like, I wore a bikini for the first time and felt confident. I was like, again, and like that personal connection as well. I was like, that was a nice one.
Class.
It was a nice one. Like I said, I could go for days with small things. Like I remember there was one member, was in the park with her child and gave him a piggyback and was able to do a squat. It was just like something like that, just playful, small thing, you wouldn't even think about it. But like I know that meant a lot to them. Other members, again, older lady comes to mind. She's actually not a member anymore because she achieved her goal. Her goal was to strengthen up her knee enough so they would do a knee replacement on her. And obviously got job done, is in the process of getting it done at the moment.
Unreal.
Like that's...
And you know, I think sometimes as well, like, because we're so much in the business and we're growing the business and and you're a head coach, so you're looking at the KPIs and the sales and the marketing. I think sometimes we don't talk about this stuff enough.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Without us coaching clients to like improve their lives, we don't have a business.
This is it, like
at all.
No,
it's what it's all about.
We kind of have this conversation every now and again. It comes up maybe kind of once every quarter, once every 6 months or so. Like Gav is always big on it. Like, what's your biggest win for whatever period of time? And I think that's when we kind of look back at these moments. But like, there's been a couple. We had a chat there one day when we were training, and just about if you could pick one member that represents Tailormade, who is it? And it's those couple of stories come up then and come out, and it hits home every time. It never gets old. Like, listen to those
best
stories.
Industry in the world to work in.
Ever.
Do you know?
Ever.
Because
I'll die on that hill.
You could go in and do whatever in a factory, or like you could do whatever, and not taken away from anybody's career choice, but like when you get the opportunity to come in and actually impact people positively, it's so fulfilling.
It's so personal. Like it's not like some of those stories now. Like I'm nearly getting choked up myself now thinking about a couple of them. Like it's phenomenal. It's so phenomenal.
It's what it's all about. I love it. Perfect. We're going to move over to you now. Your training philosophy. So you done your degree in sport and exercise science. You done your master's in research in speed and plyos, and basically we've a big enough team now, 18 people in Tailormade, and everybody, like, fitness is so broad, and everybody has their like area that they're really interested in. So like Gavin is competing in powerlifting, obviously, and we've got other people that are like really going down a rabbit hole in other areas. What would you say your training philosophy is? Who is Luke as a coach? Like, what do you stand for?
I kind of consider myself a jack of all trades when it comes to coaching, because I've kind of done a little bit of everything. So like I said, when I finished my first year of college, I lost a lot of weight and was kind of went down that kind of rabbit hole of weight loss and that sort of stuff. So like I said, it went from 200 pounds down to kind of 166, I think, at my lightest. A lot of that was in long distance running. So I kind of went down the route. My brother has ran a couple of marathons, but kind of followed his lead and kind of what he was at. So worked up the distance, got done 3 or 4 half marathons at the moment, got fairly respectable times, was kind of happy with that. And I kind of consider that kind of box ticked, I'm good. And went on to the next thing, which was kind of strength gain. So I kind of worked to build my 166 pound frame, which is a twig, up and got a little bit of strength back. So I was kind of happy.
And what are you now? 185?
90 kilos, yeah, 185, 190, give or take. And then went to kind of strengthen up that side of things and kind of just got generally kind of strong, I would say. More kind of, I don't want to say bodybuilding, but kind of just general kind of strength and hypertrophy work, which is great. From there then, I kind of specialised in college then, somewhere around third year, in kind of the sport performance side of things, which is where, that was when the eyes opened and it was like, okay, this is me. So that was when the Olympic lifting came into play, the plyometrics, the speed work, and a lot of my kind of interests went down to strength and conditioning for athletes, which is where 95% of my coaching was in before I came here to Tailormade. So I was working with hurling teams, football teams, a couple of county teams came into play. So I was working with Carlow senior footballers, got a little bit of work with Kilkenny senior hurlers, Wexford senior hurlers. Obviously went to California and was working in the college over there and with some of their athletes and teams, that's the best experience I've ever gotten. That was kind of where I went with more so making people bigger, faster, stronger, as opposed to weight loss, strength gain, a lot of the kind of main goals that we see here. And then finished college then, went into the Masters, was lucky enough to be offered a scholarship by one of the lecturers then working on an aspect then kind of branching off from that to speed and plyometrics. So went down the research route, got a couple of publications under my belt, which is great, delighted with those. And then didn't really know what was happening next, and that's when Tailormade came up and landed on my feet. Fell forward.
Has your training philosophy evolved over time? Because I think most people, when they do S&C of some sort or exercise, they want to work with athletes. I see that as a big trend.
Yeah.
And I think that was you as well when you finished college. It was like, I want to be in a professional setup with a professional sports team. So from there maybe to where you are now, how has the philosophy around training changed, or has it?
I don't think the philosophy has changed.
Okay.
I think the principles have. So like, to me, a philosophy is still more or less doing the best by the athlete, doing the best by the member, doing the best by whoever I'm working with. I think that is the philosophy behind any coach.
Okay.
I think the principles of how we get there
great. That's what I was getting at.
Are different. So, like, I'm not going to go Olympic lifting with a person that's never been in a gym before and can barely squat parallel with body weight. Like, that's just not intelligent at all. I think that's kind of the main way I kind of approach it. But like, if you're looking to get bigger, faster, stronger, in my opinion, you still need to be hitting your big compound lifts. That's going to get you your bread and butter for most things. It's just the kind of some of the accessory work and some of the tweaks around it will have to be adjusted depending on what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So like you said, there's very little benefit for, like I said, someone who's 65 doesn't move overly well. Like, I'm not going to give her doing snatches or anything like that that's overly advanced, because that's just a recipe for a disaster. Mm-hmm. But like I said, if Phil McCullough comes to me, who has just won an intermediate county championship and wants to revive his knee and get back playing sport again, that might be a more intelligent play.
Yeah.
But it depends on what the member's looking for. Like, I don't think, like, the philosophy to me is always doing right by the member and getting the best out of them. The principles behind that will change depending on what I'm working with.
Yeah. So very broad, the way you look at things. You look at the individual, and then your prescription of exercises or exercise selection or a training program would be dictated based on where the person is at, what they want to achieve.
Exactly.
And then you'd use a large arsenal of tools in your toolbox, everything from Olympic lifting to running to, strength training, compound lifts, mobility work, everything and anything to get that person to where they want to get.
Absolutely. So to me, like, coaching is, like, Gavin has always quote me for saying this. I definitely didn't come up with it, but I always seem to get the credit for it. Is coaching is all about using the best tools in your toolbox to fix whatever the problem is.
Class.
So like I said, if that's Olympic lifting, if that's running, if that's aerobic work, if that's compound lifts, it doesn't matter. Like, all the tools are in the toolbox there to be able to fix the problem that I see in front of me by the member. Brilliant. Or the person or the athlete or whatever it is. Like, it's just adapting those tools, and that's what kind of makes it fun, because everybody's different. Yeah. So like, it's not just kind of copy and paste. It's adjusting that a little bit to kind of get the best out of it.
What are your personal fitness/strength aspirations over the next 12, 24 months, if any? Or where are you at with your training?
Training's going good. I just actually hit a squat max today and was a little bit off my all-time PR, so I kind of like to get that back up a little bit. I love to squat twice my body weight. I think that's something that's not too far away. I'm working on it. hit 165 today. I'm hoping to hit 180. That would be a nice number. Other than that, like, it's just kind of general health and fitness really for me at the moment. I've nothing overly specific. I've no race that I'm working towards for the first time in a long time. I've no real performance goal. Just kind of get a little bit better,
And that's why I wanted to press you for, because I think it's important that, because like some people think that we just love training all of the time and all of this crack, and there's always something to go for. But sometimes in life, it's just a matter of hitting your 2 or 3 or 4 strength sessions a week, enjoying what you're doing, staying healthy, maybe have 1 or 2 goals, but it doesn't need to be too specific. It depends on your period in life.
Yeah, I think that's a problem that a lot of members struggle with, is like, I don't have a specific number or a specific look or a specific dress that I'm trying to fit into. Like, it doesn't have to be, goals don't have to be that specific. I think you can spin the wheels a little bit without having a kind of real minute detailed goal, but eventually that goal will come around. So like, I'll probably spin my wheels now for probably close to Christmas, and I'll be like, okay, in January hits, I want to do this or run this quickly or bench this weight or whatever it is. Like, that'll come around over time. There's going to be times when you hit kind of transitions. And I think that's an area where members kind of struggle with. It's like, it's okay, like, you don't need to be overly specific yet, like, that'll come, but you still need to keep the consistency up, because when you do go and hit that specific goal, you want to be able to hit the ground running.
Yeah, love it. 100%. We'll move over now to the team and workplace dynamic with Tailormade. So there's a lot of people that follow us on Instagram, follow you, follow me, follow Gavin on Instagram, that are maybe looking to get into the fitness industry as a PT or a coach. Maybe they're in the fitness industry and looking at us as a prospective employer. In your words, how would you describe the support and development opportunities at Tailormade Fitness now? Maybe what you've experienced, and just, how would you describe that?
To be honest, I think the dynamic in the company is class. I don't think we could ask.
He wasn't paid to say that.
I think it's a lot better than people would expect. So like, obviously, like, between 5 gyms, it's natural there's going to be that little bit of competitiveness and that little bit of, I don't want to use the word rivalry, that sounds very harsh.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it is too, but I think a lot of people think that, like, we want the other gyms to do bad so we look better. Like, that's not it at all. Like, don't get me wrong, we're all competitive, and I want Carrick to be the best gym, but I want Cash to do well, I want Feather to do well, I want the other gyms to do well as well, but I want us to do better. Do you know what I mean?
A rising tide raises all ships.
Gavin Butler's finest there. So, but yeah, so I think that's kind of the way it is. I definitely think we're competitive, which is good. And for someone like me that's kind of not really playing sport at the moment, that competitive outlet is kind of gone, but now it's kind of applied.
In business.
Yeah, I kind of get it in business, which I never thought I would have said when I started here. But I think that's probably the best way to explain it, is that it's definitely pressure filled, it's definitely competitive, but I think it's all for the better. Like, again, like, when we see Cashel or Feathered or whatever the other gyms are doing and they do well, like, we're always happy for them, but there's a little bit of, all right, I need to get my shit together now and get back up there. Like, so, like, and that's definitely something that motivates me anyway, and motivates the lads as well. Like, so that's why we kind of, that's probably a big reason why Carrick is doing so well over the last 3, 4, 5 months, is that competitiveness from the lads setting the bar so high and us kind of being like, all right, okay, we need to put up the socks a little bit now and get up there. So
I think that's a good description.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about with your future career aspirations? What excites you about the future?
I think the trajectory of the business as a whole, and I'd like to think I could be a big part of that and have the tools to do so. So I don't know how much you want to get into this, but like, you have big aspirations over the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and I think expanding is definitely something that would interest me, which I'm excited about. It's a new challenge, something a little bit different, and it's something that definitely would interest me for a lot of reasons. I think from a personal perspective, I think that would be definitely another tool in my toolbox, to go back to that analogy. But I think it's something where obviously the financial rewards that will come across with that would kind of set me up a little bit better for the lifestyle that I see myself having and want myself to have.
Class. Love it. I think it's great, because I talk to a lot of people and they work in jobs that they really, really dislike, and they really just don't see a future. And I'm glad that you said that, and that's what you see for yourself, is like, you're excited about the vision of where we're looking to go. You can see how although you might know exactly what role that it is you're going to play, but you know you have the opportunity to play a bigger role, and it comes with more responsibility, but more money and all the rest of it. I
think a lot of that as well is, I don't even know if you remember this, but do you remember when we done the charity event up in the old gym for the cycle thing for a buddy of mine that had...
For a buddy of yours, yes.
Yeah, and I remember we done a charity cycle where we kept the bike spinning for whatever it was,
24 hours,
12 hours or 14 hours, something like that.
Yeah, I came down and did an hour slot.
you were supposed to do an hour, but ended up doing 2 or 3 for whatever reason.
Somebody cancelled or something.
Yeah, something like that. And it was only me and you downstairs in the old gym, and we had a good heart-to-heart chat.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember. This is another one that'll come up, like, in terms of those moments where there's a fork in the road. This is kind of another one of these things.
Because I think before that you were not really planning on staying with us.
It was around that time. So I had an internship lined up where I didn't have it locked in, but I knew I was a good candidate.
Yeah.
So I was pretty confident. And that was around this time when this kind of came up. And we had a good heart-to-heart now for probably an hour and a half, I'd say. And you were kind of straight, you were honest as well, which, like, you weren't trying to get me to stay.
Oh no, you were like, if you want to go, I wish you all the best. Like, genuinely, if I can do anything for you, I will.
Yeah.
If you want to stay, this is where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. And I went home that night and I was kind of like, I had a chat with herself and I was kind of like, I really think I could see a future here. And she was like, that you were going this morning, like, how did you change your mind in this? And I was like, I had a good chat and I explained it all. And I think to be honest, that's probably not the only reason, but a big reason why I stayed is because we kind of sat down and I had someone that knew the industry and knew the industry I wanted to go down in terms of the sports side of things, because I know you kind of been that route in terms of PT and stuff like that. And like, you kind of outlined the pros and cons to both and kind of let me in on a little bit of the secrets of where you were going to expand over the foreseeable and how that was all going to adapt and where I kind of fit in. And that was kind of, okay, option A, option B, and when I kind of weighed up the pros and cons, I kind of went with this route. And
I think we had only 2 gyms at the time.
You were just in the process of opening Taurus.
Yeah.
Because I think Chris had just left.
Okay, yeah.
And that was when, obviously, it was myself and Landy kind of running the show. I think we had just hired, who was it Cahill, maybe?
Could have been. Yeah.
Could have been somewhere in that ballpark when that happened. And then, yeah, here we are.
That's really interesting for me because...
Like, that's again, going back to what we said, like a fork in the road moment, that's another one that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah. And that just reminds me of how important it is for me to probably have those informal one-to-one chats with staff, because like my job now is really selling the vision so that people want to be a part of it or don't want to be a part of it. Either way, I'd rather you just make a decision.
Yeah.
You know? So that just kind of reminds me that I probably need to do even more of that, because I'm unaware of the impact that might have. So thanks for sharing that. Lovely. As I said, a lot of PTs or potential PTs watching us. Is there any advice you would give to aspiring coaches, PTs that are looking to get into the fitness industry? Obviously, you've done your degree, you've done your master's, you've worked in the field now for a couple of years. You've gotten to the position that you're in. There's some young guys or girls watching you speaking and be like, Jesus, Luke is successful. Yeah, I know you might cringe at that, but
a little bit, yeah.
You are. Is there any advice you would give to people starting out in the fitness industry, potential coaches?
To be honest, you've got to get the reps in. Like, be that, like, you're probably going to have to volunteer some of your time and get reps in early on. It's a necessary evil. We've all done it. I've done it. You've probably done it. Heather done it. Kieran done it. There's other coaches who have been in Tailormade that have done it. Jodie Looney, I know, done it. Actually, I'd say that's probably, if you have, how many coaches have you now? 15?
There's 14 coaches.
I'd say you've probably 6 or 7 that have done an internship or some form of work experience or whatever title you want to call it.
Unpaid work.
That's what I mean. Like, but like now here they are.
Yeah.
And here we are. Like, Kieran's a guy, like, he started us. I remember Kieran's first session, thrown him into the deep end, and it was awful. And he won't mind me saying that either. But like, now he is bossing it, one of the top coaches in the company in my
100%.
view. Heather the exact same, come a long way in 6 or 8 weeks, like, and he's coming in, bossing it on the floor all morning with me. It's like, it's class to see that development
So basically what you're saying is, so if you're a new PT, just because you have a qualification, you might not get a job straight away. Maybe you don't even have you might have the qualification, but you don't have the skills yet to be paid. So you need to get in somewhere, get your foot in the door, get the reps, and then...
That's it. Like, there's any amount of PTs, there's any amount of gyms that will, if you ask them nicely enough and know the right people, they will come in and let you shadow and even just watch them and watch how they approach it.
We do it all the time.
We do it all the time.
If the person is right.
We've done it before. Like I said, I've done it. There's probably not a successful coach in the industry that probably hasn't done it, I would imagine. And again, like, you can have all the qualifications on paper. I've got everything from a degree to a master's, but none of those taught me how to coach. I got that experience on the floor working with teams in California, coming in here. Like, you get the reps on the floor. No, you won't learn how to coach in a classroom or in a lecture hall or whatever. Like, it just doesn't happen that way.
Love it. If all goes to plan, we're probably going to hire 8 or 9 minimum new coaches or PTs next year. There's probably people watching us on socials. Maybe they work in an open gym or whatever. They're considering working with us, but they haven't quite DM'd me or Gavin, or they haven't really taken the thing. Is there anything that you would say to them people?
Just bite the bullet. Like, if you're anyway interested, like, just drop us a message. Like, if it works out, great. If not, look, there's no harm done by sending a message, and it's all a networking thing as well. Like, it might not work out now, but it might work out in a year's time, or 2 years' time, or 10 years' time. Like, there's nothing wrong with sending out a message and reaching out. Reach out to me, reach out to Fionn, reach out to Gav. Any of the coaches, I'm sure, would be happy to have a chat and see what works.
I think that's a bit of a call to action. If there's any PTs
absolutely.
Watching this that are interested in getting experience, maybe talking about a future career, drop one of us a DM on Instagram. We'll meet for an informal coffee, whatever, and go from there. Please, like, make yourself
100%.
known to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is loads of them, and even like Rachel, we just hired in Cashel. She's been watching us for ages. Dropped me a DM. I met her for a coffee. 2 weeks later, she was hired. That's just
Easy
how
as
it can happen.
Yeah.
She was the right fit, but perfect. We'll move on to some personal questions.
Right.
For you, what's your favourite way to unwind outside of work?
I'm pretty chill, to be honest. If I'm not training, which is obviously a big part of what I do, I probably train 4 or 5 days a week. I'm really just chilling. That could be at home, reading a book, watching a film, spending time with ourselves. I'm a simple creature, I'll be honest.
Cool.
I'm more laid back, I'll be asleep.
What would you say your biggest achievement in life is to date?
Put me on the spot there. There's a couple of things kind of come to mind. The big one is college, to be honest. Finished my degree, jumped straight into a master's, and managed to kind of navigate that whole process with COVID, meeting people one-to-one to test, which was an absolute disaster. But got it over the line anyway, and got a couple of papers published at the end of it as well, which is great after kind of going through 6.5 years of college, and you finally get to see Atkins et al. At the end of a paper and know that that's me. I'm like, that.
And there was challenges there, like the year one traveling up and down, you were going to drop out. Like there was
overcoming obstacles and all that crack. Yeah, no, it was definitely bittersweet.
I think anybody that has a degree, even if they don't work in that field, it's an achievement.
100%.
You've stuck it out, got it, done it.
And no one goes to college and has it all plain sailing. Like there's a lot, like everyone was that broke college student living off pot noodles there for a little while anyway. But it's definitely not living the life of luxury. And it's a long time. Like it's 3 or 4 years depending on what course you're doing, and it's a lot of grind. Yeah, to be honest.
100%. If you could pick someone within the Tailormade team currently that you admire, who would it be and why?
All of them. Is that an answer? All of them for different reasons.
Yeah.
If I had to single out one, and I'm sure he's been mentioned a lot because he's probably the one that I think is universally admired by a lot, is Owen Cleary. I think Owen was given a very hard job with Feathered and like having to start a gym from scratch and build it up bit by bit. And I don't think there's a better guy in the company that could have done that any better than Owen did, which is like, and I've told him this the whole time, and he's probably sick of being told this, but the job he's done in Feathered is ridiculous. And how well he's done, and even the biggest thing I admire about Owen, and I say it to him the whole time, is he'll never say something's going well. It's always, okay, this is good, but this is better, and this needs to be better, and this needs to be better, which is class. Like, it's that never-ending pursuit of perfection, and it's the whole Kaizen mentality which we stand for. I think Owen Cleary is the guy.
I think Owen, I remember his interview, like he's going to watch this, like the growth, personal growth. Phenomenal.
Yeah, unbelievable. Even like I don't even know Owen that well, like, by comparison to the other lads. Like, I know he worked in Cashel and he's been kind of bounced around, but I don't even know him that well up until very recently. And like, even from when I know him, to go from where he is or where he was to where he is ridiculous.
Like. And you know, the reason I asked that question is I think it's important, and even what you said about the conversation we had way back.
Yeah.
We forget about the impact we can have on people. So like people like Owen and everybody else, it's the day-to-day stuff that you do that you don't think is noticed is always noticed.
Yeah.
People are always watching.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really cool. Last question. If I was to give you an opportunity to ask me something you may have not had the opportunity to ask, or maybe you wanted to ask but haven't, is there anything you'd like to ask?
What is my biggest strength and what is my biggest weakness?
Great question. I like it. And do you know what else I like about that is you're always looking for feedback. Even I did a flow session in here on Tuesday night. I didn't fill out the review form straight away, which we do. We fill out, like, anytime we train in another gym, we'd review the coach and we'd review the gym so there can be learnings. And the next morning you were straight on to me, Fionn, will you fill out the feedback form? I want to learn. So I think one of your biggest strengths is that. It's the always looking for feedback and always looking to improve. I would say 100% that's a big strength. And even some of the stuff, like you mentioned earlier on, like the challenges there when we were in the old gym, before we moved here, it was freezing cold, the windows didn't work, the heating didn't work. But you stuck with it, stuck with it. Even when we moved here and the performance wasn't where we needed to be and there was a little bit of pressure applied, even though it was stressful, you were still like, yeah, like you just put your shoulder to the wheel, kept on looking for feedback, even though sometimes it was painful to hear.
Yeah, that's honest but true.
So I think that's your biggest strength, is that the resilience, looking for feedback, constant improvement, and don't crumble under pressure. Like you get it done. I think that's your biggest strength, and I think you've proven that time and time again. Biggest weakness, I would say it's probably less of a weakness now than it was, but I think it's your, is it your willingness to be liked, or is it your not wanting to be the bad guy maybe, or have hard conversations, right, that might need to be had. I think in the past that's probably been a weakness.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Whether that's with members, whether that's with your own team, maybe that's even with us, but I think as your feedback thing, which is your strength, that's been maybe said to you, and there's been a significant change in your ability now to have hard conversations. But I think that's still a little bit of your default. But I think you're moving out of that. And I think the bigger you go in our business, the more you need to maybe have a thicker skin. And sometimes we need to make decisions that you're not going to be the most liked person. And sometimes we need to deliver feedback that's painful for the person. And every time you deliver feedback, it's like, not only is it painful for that person to hear it, but it's painful to deliver it because you know it might actually upset them. But that's where the growth is for you and them. So although it's a weakness, I think it's less of a weakness than it was. That be fair to say?
I don't disagree.
Okay. Cool. I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap up. Luke, I want to say thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think it's 45, 50 minutes, Tasha. It's probably our longest one to date. If you're somebody who is thinking about becoming a client at Tailormade, please reach out, apply for it on our website, DM us on Instagram. If you're somebody who's thinking of getting into the fitness industry and wants a bit of support, please reach out to us. If you're potentially looking to work with us in the future, please reach out to us, make yourself known to us as well. Other than that, thank you very much. We'll see you on the next episode for episode 6. Luke?
Thank you very much.
Been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.